Uh,
Your Excellency, Ambassador Jawad, respected guests, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to you. In my turn, I would also like to thank the organizers and the host for such an impeccable event. It's fantastic to be here. It's both an honor and a privilege for me. Thanks for the opportunity. My speech has evolved throughout the course of organizing this event. I was first asked to speak about the success story of new block properties, of which I'm the CEO, but it ended as startups, and I'm delighted to be speaking about startups, although from success it goes to the almost other extreme, which is 90% of the startups or failures. Nevertheless, startup businesses are the lifeblood of the economy, especially in the developing world. For they create jobs, wealth, they pay tax as little as possible. I'm gonna, of course, in developing and developed world, there is plenty of help, assistance, incentives by the government, financial institutions to guide through the startups. So there is plenty of information out there. I'm not going to bore you with those because they're all available. But I'm going to tell a few stories of my own experiences. Most of them in the 90% failure, which I've had a few starts before we were successful. Let me bore you with a few statistics before, just to see the significance of startups. Every 2 seconds there is a new startup in the world. This is according to Global Entrepreneurship Monitor consulting firm. In the UK there are 75 startups every hour. But this enterprising spirit is not equally distributed across the globe. Of course, just to give you an idea, according to one opinion poll that I don't know the source, but I've heard that 90% of American citizens want to launch their own business at some point in life, whereas 90% of Russians, they want to work in Gazprom, which is the oil and gas giant. But this shows us how the spirit of entrepreneurship is distributed. On Afghanistan, unfortunately, I couldn't get hold of reliable data, but I know for a fact that Afghans are quite enterprising nation and very, very talented. However, there are certain stereotypical business behavior that often defines that spirit and often plays as a hurdle to success and prosperity beyond the lockup shop or beyond the small sole trader business. My father was, in the 80s, he was the finance minister in Afghanistan and then the chairman of central bank. So naturally we had known the prominent business people, of whom I know Mr. Karimzadeh is here. Is a very, very prominent business person. So once I visited him in Moscow when he lived in a self-imposed exile in Moscow, in his modest hotel room, which was also used as his office. He used to try and make a living out of commissions for goods made in the Soviet Union for the Afghan market. So on one very memorable visit, an old benevolent man, very tall, I met him and he actually brought tea for me, although he was the guest, and offered with 2 hands. So he didn't need introduction, that's what my father thought. When he left, I asked my father who he was. My father said, "You just met the richest man in Afghanistan," and that was Mr. Akumurad Bai. intelligent, very shrewd businessman, very wealthy. If I say he was the Warren Buffett of Afghanistan, I wouldn't be exaggerating. Now, I never heard of him anything since, until quite recently. Sadly, he passed away in Germany peacefully in his late 90s or so. And that impression left me that I think my generation would have known him or have heard of him in some capacity, but I don't think anyone would know the name of his company or any brands that he worked with. So one of the things I'm going to try and squeeze a few of the stereotypes that I think I'm going to blame it on the Afghan mentality, business mentality. His businesses are very owner-centric. We don't have the separation of ownership and management, and therefore owners tend to dominate the whole business, and their name becomes their brand. The other thing I could think of, in addition to that, what happens typically, they try to do business themselves, so they end up in the business rather than on the business. So they lose the holistic vision of business, they can't make strategies and kind of do everything themselves. And this leads me to another very important, I think, Neil Piper would be pleased to know that I encourage Afghan businesses to attach significance and value to professional services. This is unfortunately traditionally is not the case. We don't value, for example, drafting contracts or using a market research for a product is not typically done by Afghan startups. Now I know in the UK there are a lot of firms that provide reliable data that we can base our business decisions on. A few years back, a very good friend of mine, I used to help people with some legal advice and business consultancy, and he told me, "You're doing this as a charity, why don't you set up your own consultancy?" And I said, "This is an excellent idea." And I did so. So I started with a price list, starting casually introducing a price list to my friends who used my service. And what happened slowly, instead of me succeeding into a business, I started losing my friends. You know, they stopped calling me anymore because I asked for you guys. Now, this is, why is it so important to understand or attach value to professional services and advice that is there from experts? Back in 2011, when I was the CEO of Ariana Group, Ariana Group grew from a setup of a very small shop in the South Hall to a multinational corporation that operated, when I left, it was 120 people working for us, both in UK.
مسلمانای اندونزیا بود.